Hey everyone, this is Lisa from Life in Layouts, and I am back with Creating with the Sketches. This month we're using sketch option 1 page number 4. I'm going to be using this Echo Park collection called America the Beautiful. I'm going to be using sketch option number 24. These photos are from the 4th of July of last year. Now the sketch that we're using today is a 1 page sketch. Obviously I'm turning into a double page layout. The left-hand side of the sketch calls for 4 photos, and I only had 3. I went ahead and looked through the cards, and I found this card that says Stars and Stripes Forever. My thought process was to mat all of these photos and that card on this navy paper that has the fireworks. You're really not going to see the fireworks. It was just really, I wanted the dark part of it. And that's what the sketch calls for. A grid of photos matted on a paper, and then that paper matches the paper that's on the right hand side of the layout, which I'm about to cut out in just a moment. I struggle with this grid. I love the look of grids, but man, do I struggle with them every single time. So I use my T-square ruler to get them all down, but unfortunately the Stars and Stripes Forever card is smaller than the 4x6 photo that it's sitting next to. So after I pull out my We Are layering guide and get 2 of the sides down, that's when I realize that they don't line up. So I'm trying to decide what I want to do. I'm going to pull out my T-square ruler and confirm they do not line up. I first thought that it was just that the 4x4 card was too low. So I went ahead, pulled it up, put it back down, and then realized that they were different sizes. So I had to pull the 4x6 photo up and cut that down. And it was really like 1/8 of an inch that it was smaller. So I go ahead and get that cut down, and then I can adhere the photo back using my T-square ruler as well as that 4x4 card. I pull out this white paper that has all of the stars on it, and I'm just going to use the photo grid as a guide to help me cut the white paper down. There's really no other way to measure it because it was like a weird size, because the photos didn't end up being a true 4x6 and the card was cut too short, so I felt like this was the easiest. I go ahead and pull out my distressed ink in Faded Jeans and distress the white part of it. And then when I get that done, I realize that the white paper doesn't line up with the photo grid. What happened was I must have shifted the We Are layering guides just enough to cause the stripped not to be straight. So I had to pull out my other layering guide that's a 1/16 of an inch. Usually I use the 1/8 of an inch. So the border was super tiny on these photos. Actually, I probably could have foregone the blue background altogether because there is very, very little of it that you actually see in the layout. So then once I trimmed down photo grid, then I had to trim down the white paper again. So I just used my T-square ruler and my X-Acto knife to trim it down to make sure that it was straight. Usually I do not have these issues with those layering guides. I really enjoy them, and I think that they are very easy to use. This time was just very different. So because I ended up cutting down the photo grid so small, I didn't like the amount of white space that it allowed for. So I went ahead and looked through my just colored cardstock, and I found this red that matched the collection, and I'm going to cut it so that there is a 1/2 inch border on 3 sides, because the photo grid and the white paper butt up against the center. So I just need it to be 1/2 inch on 3 sides. Once I get the photo grid and the white paper down on the red cardstock, then I'm going to add it to my base layout. So as I'm getting that down, I do want to encourage you guys to go check out all the ladies linked below. Everyone is doing this sketch. So some ladies might be doing a single page layout, some might be doing a double page layout. I am super excited to see what everyone has done for this sketch. I definitely do not use really small photos on my layouts. You guys know that I like to have lots of photos on mine, so it'll be interesting to see what everyone else come up with. On the right hand side of the layout, that's really what the sketch is. It actually calls for strips, but the sketch that I decided to use simplified it, and I just used 1 single paper because I didn't want to cut a bunch of different strips. I did go ahead and back my 2 photos that are over on the right hand side on the same firework paper, and I did give them a little bit more of a border because I was really trying to fill in that space. Having a layout with just 2 3x4 photos is very different for me. I zoomed in on this section here because what I decided to do was to take a bunch of different stars, and I'm going to stitch around the stars themselves. The first star that I did, I punched a ton of holes, way too many. Then I decided that I was just going to punch the points of the star, so the outer points as well as the inner points, and then I was just going to put one hole in between those two. So I tried to do a couple of them so that you could see what I was doing. These stars are really small and I didn't want to have a lot of bulk. So I did stitch off camera with just some navy thread, and I slowed this down quite a bit so that you could see. I only used 2 strands. Usually I use 3 in the embroidery floss. I felt like because the stars were such a smaller scale, I wanted to make sure that I didn't have too much. So I did quite a few of the stars on the right hand side, and then I'm going to go ahead and add my 2 photos down. The photo that I just put down flat is of Nevaeh, so she would have only been like a couple of months old here. And then there is a photo of me and one of the foster children using a Snapchat filter, and it just says Happy 4th of July. So those 2 photos on the right hand side were actually taken at my aunt's house. We go to her house every year to hang out in her pool, and then at the end of the day we go down to the park, which is walking distance, and watch the fireworks. So the photos on the left are kind of all of us hanging out down at the park waiting for the fireworks to start. I looked through the embellishments and I pulled out this 4th of July banner. I had it up there at the top, but then I went ahead and pulled it down to the bottom next to the photos. Then I start working on the left-hand side of the layout. I pull out this sticker that has like 3 crates on it. It says America the Beautiful, and it has jars with some flowers and a flag in it. Then I felt like the 4th of July tags were just too much, so I went ahead and took them off. I was thinking maybe I wouldn't use them at all, and I pulled in this sticker that says Proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free, and it had a little old-timey fire truck. But then I did go ahead and pull the 4th of July banners back in, and I add them to the top. I pulled out my box of wood veneer. This one has just mainly hearts and stars in it, and I'm just pulling in a bunch of different stars. I feel like I needed a lot of different texture, and I pulled out a cork star as well as some wood veneer buttons, some regular wood veneer, and really just pulling in different textures into the clusters. I then use my glue press to make sure that all of those are adhered down. I just use just a little bit. That's one of the things that I really like about this glue press. It is a fine line bottle, so just a tiny bit of glue comes out, and it's perfect for adding wood veneer or enamel dots, things like that. I did put the 4th of July banner up on fun foam, so I'm going to go ahead and add that down now as I am building up that cluster in the upper right hand side. Then I'm going to fill in the cluster at the bottom right with my glue press as well, making sure that all of those stars are adhered down. Then I felt like I needed something else, so I went to my blue color box and I found these blue sparkly stars. So I went ahead and added those. And then at the bottom of that box were some blue buttons, so I added those. And then in my red color box I found some red buttons that are actually probably from the same collection as those blue ones. They had a pattern on one side, but I didn't like the pattern, so I just used the back side of the buttons. And then I did pull 3 little star stickers from the collection sticker sheet. Finally, I added the year of 2023 in these red shiny stickers, and that is it. Here is my final layout as well as some close-ups. I want to encourage you guys again to check out all the links below. I'm sure that the ladies have tons of inspiration for you based on this sketch. If you want to pick up this sketchbook, I will also link that below to Scrapbook Generations. They have tons and tons of amazing sketches. Alright, if you enjoyed this video, if you wouldn't mind giving me a thumbs up, I would really appreciate it. If you haven't done so already and you want to see more double page layout inspiration, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Thanks everyone for watching, and I hope that you have a scrappy day.